Hello, we'll begin in just a few moments. Hi, my name is Bianca Bishola. I'm the COO of SIX, and welcome to the Murchison Minerals Live Investor Summit. I'd like to start today by introducing our presenters, JC Potvin and Eric Martin. JC Potvin has a proven track record in the industry and is internationally recognized as a former mining investment analyst. JC has created a number of companies and has made a number of significant discoveries around the world. Eric Martin is the CFO of Murchison. JC and Eric have been working as a team for several decades, and Eric is available to answer any financial questions at the end. Today's presentation will provide company highlights, but a fuller, more detailed presentation is available on their website at murchisonminerals.com. To kick things off, JC will be telling the company story, and then we will be accepting questions. You can submit your questions in the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Take it away, JC.
Thank you, Bianca. Thanks everyone for attending, participating in this webinar. We'll start with the cover page of the presentation, which, by the way, the full version of the presentation is available on our website, murchisonminerals.com. So we'll go to page number 2, which is basically the standard cautionary statements. We are making forecasts and predictions and so on, and so please read this page and look at all the risks inherent in these comments and presentations. So moving on to slide number 3, which is why Murchison Minerals Ltd. The symbol is MUR on the market. What makes a mining company, and especially a junior company, attractive for investment? So those factors to consider are the location, geography, political risk, and so we're blessed with 2 projects that are located in central Saskatchewan and Quebec, so both very politically and fiscal, stable provinces with great geology. We have 2 main assets, like I said, the Brabant McKenzie deposit, which is located in very close to the Brabant community, Brabant Lake in northern Saskatchewan, where we have a land package that covers 565 square kilometers, stretches over 57 or so kilometers along strike, and where we have identified some 118 airborne EM conductors over several airborne surveys that have been completed over the last few years in that area. Second project is the HPM. It's a significant body of nickel, copper, cobalt, numerous mineral showings, where the company increased its ownership from 50% to 100% last year, and recently announced doubling the land position to 58 square kilometers. The area has basically seen no exploration since 2008. It's highly prospective. There's already a sizable tonnage of massive sulfides that has been drill indicated, and we feel we're just scratching the surface there. Commodity exposure. Why do you buy junior companies? Because you want leverage to new discoveries, and we have that in spades. And we give you exposure on copper, zinc, nickel, silver, gold, and cobalt. Basically, all metals that are part of the new economy. But as we all know, it slowed down dramatically the last few weeks, but is bound to rebound going forward with the request for new electric cars and alternative energies, and so on. Ownership, very important. We own 100% of both the Brabant Lake project and the HPM projects. We have no partnerships with anyone at this point in time. And also, what's most important, and looking at particularly junior companies, is the track record of the management group. Do they know what they're doing? I'm pleased to say that we have had a very successful history of completing exploration, making discoveries, both in Canada and elsewhere in Africa and South America. So moving to the next slide, essentially it's kind of a summary slide highlighting the stock price performance over the last couple of years. We have 64.7 million shares outstanding. The current price is 7.5 to 8 cents. So market capitalization is only 5 billion Canadian dollars, or 3.4 million US. We do have we spent a lot of money this past winter on drilling and doing airborne surveys, so the working capital is relatively low at $250,000. So main asset, the Brabant McKenzie deposit, it currently has roughly 9.7 million tons. It consists of the main metal being zinc, followed by copper, silver, and a bit of lead and gold. The deposit itself is open to expansion laterally and at depth, and again, it's already in what you consider a mining lease, so it'd be relatively easier to proceed to production in due course. But there's a lot more work to be done. Very large land position, 565 square kilometers, multiple drill targets. The surveys that we have completed in the last little while, a year ago, and as recently as just a few weeks ago, have identified some 118 very significant EM conductors that need to be followed up with field work. And the other project, HPM, again, the last drilling on that project was in 2008. The best hole drilled at HPM was 43 meters of 1.74% nickel, 0.9% copper, and 0.9% cobalt. Multiple targets. The area is just ripe for the exploration with a great infrastructure, which we'll describe as we go forward. Next slide shows the location of Brabant Lake. It's more or less in the center of Saskatchewan, so basically it means the center of Canada. It is accessible by road, with the railhead being at Prince Albert. It's you can easily drive to Flin Flon, where there is a big zinc smelter owned by Hud Bay. The alternative is go to reach the railhead and go west to the Tex Trail smelter, or onward to the Port of Vancouver and onward to markets in Asia. The other side of the country is go east to the Great Lakes. You can go by rail to Sudbury, or by boat right through the eastern seaboard and off to European markets. So great, pretty good logistics, and again, very safe place, middle of Canada. Next slide is basically the reason we're excited about the Brabant Lake area. We're dealing with VMS type deposits, and VMS they're basically the origin of these deposits is from volcanic emanations, and typically at the bottom of the ocean. So not too far from us, we have the Flin Flon area, and again, I should have stated that VMS deposits tend to occur in clusters. So you never have one. You always have multiple deposits, typically in all of these areas of the world where we have these deposits, VMS type deposits. The most famous one in Canada is the Flin Flon area. As you can see on that map, all these red blocks denote mines that have been developed over the years. The Lynn Lake area, a bit further to the north, is similarly quite a few deposits and mines that have been developed over time. And you have Brabant Lake. There's only one block there, so we're dealing with the same age of rocks, same chemistry, same formations, And we'd like to say that look, what we have at Brabant Lake is a land package that is significant, and I'd like to say that it's a bit like arriving in Flin Flon in 1920 and you own it all. I mean, you own all the potential of that area because we do own it all. So it's that is what makes our project so exciting. The next slide shows the extent of the land package that we have and a number of blocks, mostly contiguous blocks of claims that stretch over 57 or so kilometers along strike. We have a very good infrastructure, and as you can see, the black line shows the location of the provincial highway, highway number 102, that goes up north to the uranium mines. So there's a good traffic of transport trucks and so on. We have a big power line that goes right through the property. It's 357 kV. We have a small community of Brabant Lake, which is a Cree community, and the location of the deposit itself. So I'll just use the drawings. You can see that this is the deposit location, and the community is right next to it. You can walk from the Brabant McKenzie deposit to town. It's just a couple of kilometers. All the areas that are shown in with no colors, those areas were covered very recently with a brand new V10 survey that covered 949 line kilometers of airborne data. This survey identified 35 new conductors on the mass claim block, and another 23 strong conductors on the M and M North claim block. So now the whole area has been covered. So it's moving on to the next slide. So again, just this map shows what we've found over the last few surveys. The bulk of this area was flown in this particular area here was flown in 2011. The rest of the area out here was covered last year in January, February, and this current survey was completed just a few weeks ago, and as well as the M claim block here. So what's really important to notice here is that maybe I should change the color, but that's the location of a Brabant McKenzie deposit. You can see the signature, a little pink dot, and as you can see to the southwest, there are 35 very, very similar conductors that have been identified, and with a kind of a similar signature to what we find at the Brabant McKenzie deposit. It's very, very encouraging. It's the same geological horizon, and again, same chemistry, same age, and so on. Where the other arrow is pointing, this area. That's the main lake drill discovery that we've made just a few weeks ago in the winter drilling program that was just completed back in late February, where we identified one hole with 2 parallel zones of pretty decent mineralization. So again, this proves a point that there is mineralization on this horizon that continues to the southwest and perhaps elsewhere on the property. Moving to the next slide, again, just highlighting the M claim block, where we have identified 23 strong conductors. And again, coming back to the premise that VMS deposits tend to occur in clusters and they tend to be stacked, so one on top of the other. And what we see here at the detailed modeling of these conductors is that we have stacked conductors, and again, same rock formation. So very, very encouraging. So we're looking forward to be able to go kick the tires and as soon as the snow melts. Next slide. Essentially, why rely on geophysics? Well, the whole area, surprisingly, is covered with a thin veneer of glacial till. So there are, again, surprisingly, very few outcrops. And if you don't see the rocks, it's difficult to do with mapping or recognize that where these conductors are. So you do an airborne survey, you identify magnetic bodies, anomalies, electromagnetic conductors. You plot all the the information, and then you use these maps, detailed maps, to go and try to locate these conductors with ground prospecting. And so here we have this geologist walk and run with an instrument called a beep mat. It's a bit like a small toboggan that you drag behind yourself, and it contains two instruments. One is a magnetic detector, and the other one is an electromagnetic detector. And you have the instrument receiver around the geologist's neck. So when, even though there might be some soil cover and you actually don't see any rocks, this device will start beeping and registering anything that's magnetic or a conductor, electromagnetic conductor, down to about 5 meters deep. So it's a great tool that we also plan to use at the HPM project this coming summer. When you locate the conductors on the ground, you dig down to bedrock, as you can see on the right-hand side. Use a rock saw to cut your channel samples and actually continue or do some more trenching to try to follow up on these conductors and see where they're going, and try to see the specific details about the formation, the dip, and so on. So with all this 3D modeling done with surface samples, you locate these targets. The next phase is actually you go to drilling, and here in the center of the page here is an actual section of the drilling that's being done on the Brabant McKenzie deposit. That drilling was done a few years ago. On the right-hand side at the bottom is a model of how VMS deposits are formed. As you've seen on National Geographic, when they talk about smokers, essentially you have volcanoes that are typically underwater. And as the smoke comes to the surface, when they hit cold water, these metals will precipitate out of the smoke and create a bit of a kind of a saucer-shaped type form, deposit that's metal rich. And eventually, the whole area gets covered with more sediments and solidify, and that's how VMS deposits are found. So typically, you never have one volcano. You always have, because volcanoes are basically a reflection of fractures in the Earth's crust. So whenever you have a fracture, you have many vents that get created, and hence the formation of multiple potential deposits. So the next slide shows a bit of the infrastructure we have there on the top left hand side of the slide is an air photo of the village. As you can see, it's well laid out and so on. We own two houses in the village, shown on the pictures at the bottom left hand side, and also we have an office trailer type structure that we use as a core shack, essentially to be able to log the core when it's cold outside. And the picture on the right hand side of the river, it basically highlights the big electrical pylons that cross the property. So we're blessed with provincial highway power lines. We even have cell coverage as of the early February. So very good infrastructure indeed. So the next slide shows the location of the Brabant McKenzie deposit, which is right here. The mineralization has been traced on surface for about a kilometer, 1,000 meters. The ore body dips to the northwest. It's been drilled down to 1,000 meters down dip, and you look at the distance to the highway and to town is roughly 2 kilometers. So it's very convenient, and that ore body remains open for expansion. So This slide 13 shows the amount of drilling that's been done on the property. It's 138 drill holes. So the ore zone, as I said, comes very close to surface. It's made up of two parallel zones, the lower zone and the upper zone. The lower zone averages about 6.7 meters thick. It's up to 18 meters thick in some places, while the upper zone averages 5.3 meters. It's coarser grained, and it goes up to 16 meters. So it's a type of deposit that can be, it's easily accessible, comes right up to surface. You can access it with using a standard ramp access, and ultimately with a shaft, but you can get in production fairly readily and rapidly. The next slide shows some photos of the core that's been drilled on the property. As you can see, the core is very, very coarse. So one of the conclusions, indications is that the metallurgy, the ability to separate the metals from each other and from the ore, is pretty straightforward. In fact, you can rely on simple magnetic separation to remove pyrrhotite. Pyrrhotite is basically a worthless mineral. It is magnetic. So when you do your crushing, just before you're doing the actual milling and flotation, you can extract the pyrrhotite pretty easily with a simple magnetic separation. You can also rely on optical sorting and X-ray sorting to remove selectively some of the economic minerals, and again, use the latest developments in flotation. So again, no difficulties anticipated in being able to extract the economic mineralization. So the next slide shows some of this 3D modeling that we've been doing on the geophysics. Some of this data is based on airborne data, and some of it is done on ground geophysics. As you can see, multiple targets have been defined, particularly in this particular area called Brabant South. It's right on the edge of the mass claim block that we acquired in early February. And as you can see, multiple targets. This particular area has never been drilled. It basically has not been explored on the ground to speak of. And this is just one example of the potential that we have in this camp. Next slide shows the location of where the drilling took place back in February. As an example, again, Main Lake, we had some very, very good assays found in surface mineralization. As you can see, massive sphalerite here on the right-hand side, and disseminated sulfides here with good gold grades. As you can see, the samples here that were collected, very, very good values of copper, zinc, and silver, and even gold. So this is an indication that the mineralization is not just at the Brabant McKenzie specific area, but it extends potentially across the property. Again, here at the Main and Main West, we have 7 conductors, and we've only tested 2 of them, essentially. Again, the 3D modeling. So we did discover mineralization on hole number ML20004, where we identified 3.6 meters of 0.83% copper, 0.6% zinc, and pretty decent silver at 12 grams. And the lower zone in the same hole, 6.6 meters running, basically trace copper, stronger zinc, 41 grams of silver. But what's really key in that, in all basically the drill holes in this area, is that the entire rock formation is highly, highly altered, which shows that there's been a lot of hydrothermal cooking and solution mobilization of minerals. So it's again a good indication that the area is incredibly prospective. So the next slide. So basically that concludes the short presentation on the Brabant project. And again, we intend to go back there this coming summer to follow up on all of these EM conductors that we have identified in this last program. So basically 58 new conductors that literally have never been explored. The next project is HPM. Excuse me. The yellow star denotes the location of the project in northern Quebec. It's essentially just north of the town of Sept-Îles, which is a big mining hub particularly for the iron ore mining industry. And so as a result of the iron mines a bit further north, we benefit from, again, very, very good infrastructure from rail to power, multitudes of hydro dams in the area. Again, very good, very nice rocks. So the area was originally identified because by various government geological surveys. This is right next to the Manicouagan crater, which is basically an area where a huge meteorite hit the ground eons ago. Very similar to what happened at Sudbury. So we're roughly 12 kilometers from the impact crater, and so the area was first explored by Falconbridge, again looking for nickel and copper. They started doing some work there in 1989, and eventually Falconbridge was taken over by Xstrata, which had little interest in doing grassroots exploration. Sold the property to a junior called First Nickel, and the Manicouagan Minerals, a predecessor company of Murchison, we just changed the name, did a deal there to acquire a 50% interest back in 2008 by doing some drilling, confirmed that there was some pretty decent and widespread nickel, copper, cobalt mineralization. And a year ago in February, we did acquire Pure Nickel's 50% interest. So now we have 100% of this project, and recently doubled the size of the claim package by staking. So 100% interest, 58 square kilometers. The next slide shows some of the drilling results from 2001, 2002, and 2008 drilling. The best hole was essentially 43.2 meters or 1.74% nickel, 0.9% copper, and 0.9% cobalt. As you can see, the mineralization seems to have some pretty good roots. It's the body has been traced for 300 meters on strike. The EM conductor continues for 800 meters in total strike length, and the drilling has gone down to as deep as 280 meters. So where the mineralization is still encountered. So very exciting. There's potential to identify a lower grade, potentially open pitable resource. Clearly, we need to do some more drilling. And so all this drilling was basically focused on an area called Bar de Fer, or Iron Bar. And a couple of kilometers away to the west, there's another EM conductor that has been traced for 1.2 kilometers. And it's only been explored or tested with one drill hole that hit 15 meters of pretty decent low grade, but very, very encouraging nickel, copper, cobalt values. And so there's one hole on this big conductor that goes for 1.2 kilometers. It's again highly prospective and wide open for exploration. So the next slide, page 20, shows some of the sections that were prepared by Falconbridge, and it shows that there are some wide intersections of lower grade mineralization and multiples of drill intersections, of the mineralized horizons and bodies. So it's very encouraging and exciting indeed. So the bottom line, we believe that Murchison offers a very compelling asset base. We have one ore body called the Brabant McKenzie deposit. It's approaching 10 million tons. It remains wide open. We have this huge land position, 566 square kilometers. We believe that we have the potential here to identify or outline a VMS camp with 118 different targets that need to be drilled, and with an area that benefits from really fantastic infrastructure, from highway access, power, water, major service centers. Saskatchewan is a mining-oriented province, very pro-mining. They want to develop and support base metal development. We're also operating in Quebec, where we have 100% interest in the HPM project. Again, we're exposed to nickel, copper, and cobalt, all key metals in this new future world that we're facing, where electrical power and so on is becoming more and more important. We own 100%. The property package was doubled in size, and certainly worthy of a very aggressive exploration program. We believe our shares are to be significantly undervalued, that with a market cap of $5 million Canadian. Fantastic exploration potential in great locations called Saskatchewan and Quebec. And again, underlining all of that is a very tight capital structure with 64.7 million shares of. The shareholdings are basically split with one shareholder owning 31%. He's one of our directors, and another 10% is held by Northfield Capital. That's a company that's well versed in the mining development in Canada. So to terminate, I guess, or finish the presentation, here's our contact details. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email is jcpotvin@murchisonminerals.com. And I'll transfer back to Bianca.
Thank you so much, JC. Appreciate that. And now we're going to be taking questions. As a reminder, you can submit your questions in the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. To kick things off, our first question here is there a particular time of the year where you cannot drill?
No, in fact, Bianca, we can drill year-round in most places. In winter, you tend to have an easier access if you have a swampy ground because everything is frozen. Luckily in Saskatchewan, we benefit from there's a lot of water, so you can bring your drills in by using barges in the summer, or skidders and snow groomers in winter, most of the time. Where you have rivers that never freeze, because regardless of temperature, then you have to rely on helicopters. But we can really manage that well. In Quebec, it's given the project is about 12 kilometers from the rail line and roughly 20 kilometers to the nearest road. You do have to rely on the helicopters. There's a major river going down the Manicouagan River, but it's no problems doing drilling year-round.
Excellent. And the next question here is, what is your relationship with the First Nation communities in Saskatchewan?
Our relationship is very, very good. We do own 2 houses in the community of Brabant Lake. We hire as many of the local inhabitants as possible when we're doing exploration. We have regular exchange of information as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, and all these details with the band members and their administration locally. And we also have a very good relationship with the government, which is highly supportive of the mining industry in the province.
Excellent. We have a question here from Steve Hodges. He says, any thoughts on which other VMS deposits around the world that you could possibly compare your Saskatchewan geophysics with?
Yes, well, Flin Flon. And Lynn Lake, it's the same rocks, the same mineralogy. And now the whole area is clearly, it has some graphite, which can be a good conductor, but we're following essentially the same model that has been used by Hudbay and other major companies in the past. Is you have to walk over all these conductors and break rock and drill. And luckily, there's in most places there's only a thin veneer of cover, so you don't have to dig all that much down to expose the rock and find the mineralization. In some places, it's much deeper, and then you have to rely on drilling. We do use a portable backpack drill that can drill down to about 25 feet, 8 meters. Not great, but it's a great exploration tool, and it basically works off the chainsaw type motor. So it is effective, not really fast, but it's a good tool.
Very good. Our next question here comes from Carl Renzoni, and he's asking what tonnage of similar grade is needed to make the Brabant deposit economic?
My gut feel, back of the envelope numbers, I believe that if we had 14 to 15 million tons, we would have a very compelling, very profitable project. And I say that by comparing the operating costs of various mining operations in nearby in Manitoba, and recent feasibility studies by companies such as Foran Mining that is looking at developing a project just on the border with Flin Flon. And if we apply their feasibility type numbers to our project, I believe that 14, 15 million tons of combined mineralization would allow us to develop a mill complex that would be an order of magnitude about 2,500 tons per day. So all we need is to expand the Brabant McKenzie deposit itself, or by finding one more satellite deposit where we can commingle the ores, and so given so many new targets that have been identified recently, I'd like to believe that we're well positioned to be able to find one such additional ore body and make this project viable.
Excellent. Our next question, how many meters have you drilled this past winter?
This winter we drilled 11 holes on 5 different targets, and the total was about 2,900 meters. Initially, we started drilling in late January, and surprisingly, we had some poor ice conditions, and where originally the intent was to drill up to 12 different targets, 12 different sites. Quite a few of them we could not reach just because the ice conditions were not good enough. So we focused on the top 5, which included the discovery of the main lake mineralization.
And in terms of jurisdiction, how is Saskatchewan? What are the pros and the cons, and what do you enjoy about that as a jurisdiction?
Well, Saskatchewan is widely recognized as one of the top mining areas in Canada and the world, for that matter, by the Fraser Institute and various surveys. The government is highly responsive to our needs. On a number of occasions, I've had some technical questions that that you can't find readily on a website, and you pick up the phone, call the claims department or the exploration department and so on, and most of the time somebody answers, and they get back to you with the answers you want or request incredibly quickly. So it's not perfect, but it's certainly the best I've seen, or type of response that I've, in fact, in my entire life. But so it's really a pleasure to work there.
Great. And you mentioned that your work here with Murchison has the power to evolve into a new mining camp. What makes you believe that?
Well, as I said in the presentation, we control a very large land position that's has had the benefits of literally 1, 2, 3, 4 different very most recent technology VTEM surveys, with one having been completed in 2011. Further north in 2012. Last year we covered quite a large area, and again another very large area just just a few weeks ago. And whenever you read about the geology locally, and you compare it to what's in nearby Manitoba, which is as a crow flies, is only about 250 miles away, which is minuscule in geological terms. We're dealing with the same rocks, same chemistry, same age. We believe that, and we have one ore body that's been, has had a significant drilling. So those are all indications that with so many different conductors, mineralization that's pervasive, numerous, at numerous showings, 118 different conductors. We're just scratching the surface, and it's very early in the program. So that's why I'm really excited about the prospects for and something that could turn into a mining camp. So here we are.
Art Jansen wants to know, what First Nation community is Murchison working with near Brabant Lake? Are there other First Nations or just the one?
Just one. They're Woodlands Crees. They locally at South End, which is about 50 kilometers to the north of us. There's a community of about 1,000 people, and further south that roughly we're about 174 kilometers north of the another large community, and so nearest airport is 174 kilometers. So it's basically a 2-hour drive.
Very good.
And that community is called La Ronge. It's a good sized town. Government services, mining services. It's communication. It's good, very good logistics.
Absolutely. There are no further questions. I'm going to throw it back to JC for the final word.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for participating. As you can tell, we're very excited about the prospects that Murchison is working on. Again, two major projects, diversified in Canada, good area, good government support, and a diversified metal portfolio. So thanks everyone.